Oh, am I? I'm not seeing it over here. Let me refresh. Oh, hey, I am live. Cool. What's good, y'all? If anybody's here yet. I'm going to play some music for a couple minutes. Wait for everybody to get here. And then we'll get all crazy and shit. Sound off in the chat when you get here. Ooh, I hear my voice. That's a bad sign. There we go. What's good, Gray? You. Gang, gang, what's good? Y'all ready to learn some fucking mastering? Let's give it like 3 or 4 minutes. Let everybody get in here. Something like that. Everybody having a good Saturday? Is my mic blend good? Anything need to move around a little? This is about the level I'm trying to hit with the master today. Oh yeah. Just give it a couple more minutes. Let's see, what's Ben telling me? Ah, yeah. Cool. Hello, hello. Alright. We probably got about enough people in here to get started. I'll let this one run out. Oh yeah. Let me hit the vape one time and we'll kick this off. This one's by Six Path, for anybody wondering. This one isn't out. Actually, I think this one did just come out. It's called The Tower. Real good fucking tune, I think. So what is up, y'all? My name's Matt. The void that surrounds me is the Hacienda. Probably the largest bandwidth mastering studio in the world. No big deal. Ben was kind enough to invite me to join y'all and master a tune with you. And you guys can kind of bite my style from that or whatever. So let's pull the track in. And sound off in the chat. How many of y'all want to be mastering engineers and how many of y'all just want to be able to master your own stuff? You can be honest. I won't take it any kind of way. I just need to know, kind of how best to tailor this for everybody. Get you some delivered value here. Hey Ben, what's the artist name on this? If you're in the chat, who should I put in for the artist of this track? Okay. All right. I can work with that. Oh, cool. It's you guys. Okay. Just had to be sure. I won't go into why I'm entering that there, because probably most of y'all aren't working in Reaper. But fuck it, I'll go into it anyway. When I cook the masters, the name of the song goes up here, and whatever mastering version it is, the artist goes in here, and it automatically cooks the artist name, the track title, into every song. And like in Reaper, I could load up like 20 songs in the same session and like define the range of each song and bounce it out with the correct file names in it. So that's why you put the artist in here and you put the track title in there. So it basically cooks the artist title onto everything. But anyway, let me get my monitor controller visible. Oops, without screwing up the chat. Okay, that screwed everything up. Let me shuffle this around a little. There we go. Okay, so now you guys need to see my monitor controller screen, because I'm going to be bouncing between the master, which is when this button is gray, and the mix, which is when this button's gray. So like right now, we're listening to the master. Right now, we're listening to the mix, if that makes sense. That's how you can tell which one's going at a given moment, because I'll be switching back and forth between the mix, the original mix, and the master that I'm working on. And in my monitor controller, I have the ability to like change the level of the mix versus the master, so that even though the master's getting louder, we can still listen to the mix at an equivalent level to it, which I haven't really got into yet, but I'm sure Ben has already with y'all. Whenever you evaluate something really critically, you want to make sure you're doing it at equal loudness, whether that's like an individual plugin in your chain that you're A/Bing on and off, or whether it's comparing like the master you're working on to what your mix sounded like before you started on it. It makes a really good sanity check as to whether like you've lost the plot and you're, basically making a messier mix at the moment or not. Having the ability to quickly A/B between the two can, ooh, look at that little guy. What's that little guy doing? Goodness. Yeah, we're going to tuck him in. Okay, so I got this tune that Ben sent, and I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't had the time. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off all day. How many of y'all work in headphones, and how many of y'all work on monitors? And if you work on both, like which one do you main, if that makes sense? I'm trying to get feelers on how all of y'all are monitoring right now. Hit me up in the chat. And while you do that, let's have a listen to this mix, a bit of it. $50-50? Okay. Okay. So this is a little low in level right now, obviously, because it's the mix. The balance between my mic and this will get better as we work into it. I'll try to talk quieter in the meantime. Alright, so far so good. Monitors. Okay. Alright, so a good mix of both. It's okay. You can get by with either. Ain't no thing. See what this drop does. Cool. That guy's gonna be a pain in the balls, but we'll work on it. Alright. Well, so far so good. Nothing's jumping out at me yet, but he usually doesn't until you put some level on it. Once you get some level going on it, that's when the flaws really start showing themselves. I just like to have a quick listen before I start cooking it, just to make sure there isn't some kind of level imbalance between, you know, different things, because that'll be pushed against by the limiting and clipping once we drop that on there. And sometimes it can be a little less apparent that, you know, your limiter's working too hard on one individual thing, whereas if you just listen to the mix before you start cooking it, it'll be a little more evident sometimes. I don't think we're gonna have balance problems with this. Okay. Cool. Now this is maybe going to be an interesting section here, because there isn't much masking distortion that we're going to put into it. And this is really going to define the overall dynamic for this section, just keeping as much of that dynamic swell as we can. Okay, so we've got a sectional imbalance here. This section is a little lower than it should be, but that may soften a bit once we load it through the limiter, because I'm sure Ben had this loaded through a limiter while he was mixing it, or a clipper, or both. But there is a disparity here that we're going to need to push against. Now let's see what this guy is. What are you? Snare? I don't even know. But we'll find it. And this isn't always the end of the world. 9 times out of 10, a clipper does a great job on whatever the hell that is, and you don't even notice the difference. But depending on what it is, we may go in there and do a little surgery on it. Okay, so I don't hear anything glaring enough to want to mess with it before we start adding our dynamics. I like oh shit, Told Sounds here. What's good, buddy? Good to see you, bro. So I think we're ready to put some level on it, and that's pretty much the first thing I do, honestly, is get it up into the ballpark of how loud I kind of expect it to be when I'm done with it, and see how it holds up, see if the balances change, see if the tone changes, and then kind of take it from there. So I'm going to kick this plugin in, which, to call it a plugin is kind of, I don't know, it is a plugin, but basically its job is to send audio out of Reaper through my analog chain and then back into Reaper. Now, the only reason I'm doing that right now is specifically to clip it into my Lavery Gold Mark III. That's what I use as my clipper around here. I spent a lot of time, you know, trying different plug-in clippers and clipping different A to Ds. And man, nothing works like this thing does. Even the new version of this thing isn't as good. So I'm going to turn up some gain on my transfer console. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to normalize this guy to -3. And this thing is going to fuck that all up. So I'm probably going to have to push a little harder with the gain on my transfer console than I usually would. Because if this guy wasn't here, -3 would look very different for this overall mix. But let's kick it in. Let's see how it sounds. This is going to be exactly what it was before. The only difference is we're adding 3 dB of soft saturation through the Lavery. And I'll A/B it for you so you can hear the difference. Here's with it. And here's without it. Okay. With it. Without it. Okay. So yeah, it did get louder as a consequence of the saturation curve of the thing. But it does a whole bunch of other shit too. I like what it does to imaging. I really like what it does to the low end. They nailed the saturation circuit on this A to D converter. It's fucking stupid. I shouldn't wax poetic on it too much because I know y'all don't have it, but I'll talk you through an alternative that'll get you like 80% of the way there in a bit. So let's turn it up until we don't like it. How loud you trying to go, Ben? What are we thinking today? Okay, I'm liking that. I'm gonna kick a limiter in real quick. Just this guy. Just to keep us from true peak clipping into the stream, because I imagine that probably won't sound too good. The ambient is quite loud. Yeah, it's because I haven't made the master loud yet, but I'm working on that. Let's go a little louder until I hate it. Oh, good. Good, I'm glad we finally... Nah, you should have it. Nah, you should have it. It's coming out. You should have it. Oh, great. Well, I was told that this was working. How about if I do this? Is that better? Does that help at all? Oh, good, good. Love that shit. Well, it's going into OBS. I don't know what to tell y'all. Really? Like, if I... Okay. Alright, so are we good? Okay, cool. It doesn't sound that bad on my stream, and I keep it at -14. I don't know what could have changed, but... Anyway, let's keep pushing this thing. Let's compare to the mix. I'm gonna gain match it. We're listening to the mix now. Master. Mix. Master. Okay, we lost a little punch on the kick, so I'm going to pull it back a little. Alright, so we are hitting my A to D with 8.5 dB of clipping right now. Oh, yeah, I can turn the mic down. How's this? Is that better? Let me put it back in a main passage. Is this balance good? Testing. Good. Before I get too fatigued with this fucking song, can somebody tell me if the balance is good now? Oh my god. I'm not side chaining my mic to the DAW right now. Okay, cool. Alright, so let me like the kick again. I'm gonna turn it down a little. The clipper is called a Lavery Gold AD 12296 Mark III. Alright, we got a little punch back in the kick. I don't think we're hugging it to death now. Let me try throwing another limiter on top of that and see if I hate it. I got this guy going now too. So I've got this one with this one before it. And as you can see, neither one of them are doing much. Just a little bit. I could be hitting these harder for sure. And I think I could be hitting the clipper harder too. Let me take it back up. Yeah, I think that's closer to where I want to live here. Alright. So let's start with that. Let's switch to the mix again, compare the kicks. Okay, so we lost a little punch on the kick, but I got tricks to get that back. The level feels like it's in the ballpark now. We need to do a little adjustment on the upper spectra to get more loudness potential out of the mix, but I think we're in the ballpark of where we should be leveling the master to. That all stands to change after I mess around with the tonality of it a little bit. Okay, so let me put you onto an alternative if you don't happen to have a Lavery AD 12296 Mark III on your hands. Let's replace this with, it's not going to be recent. Of all things, actually, this is the best, where is it? This is the best in the box clipper I've found so far. And it's actually how I wound up with my Lavery, because when I got this plugin, what it does is it emulates the clipping of different A to D converters. And it's got like, this is the Prism Dream right here. I want to say this is the Better Maker Limiters clipper. This is the Lavery Mark III. This is the Lavery Savatier, which is the new version. This is the MX version of the Lavery, which was kind of a dog and nobody really liked it. But for some reason, it's the default setting when you pull the plugin up. This is the good one. This is a Mark III with the +3 saturation on it, which my Lavery stays with the soft saturation set to +3. You can do +3 or +6. You can get away with +6 on like rock and folk and acoustic music, but for like pop and hip hop and R&B and anything that's loudness intensive, you're going to want to use the +3 saturation. And I wound up with, you know, the hardware because I so consistently used this setting on like every fucking master for so many months in a row that I kind of figured, well, if I like this, I'm probably going to love the real thing. And turns out I was right. This plugin was not particularly made with love. There is a feature that I like to have, which let me show you what it is. In any limiter or clipper, I like having the ability when I turn up the input into it for it to also turn the output down by the same amount. And that's so that you can listen more critically to what the clipper or limiter or whatever is doing, right? In this particular plugin, because it's an acoustical plugin, they didn't think to put that feature on there. But if you've got a clever DAW like Ableton or Reaper or whatever, you can create that function. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have the output be controlled by the input here. And I'm going to give them an inverse relationship. I'm going to set the baseline like so. And now when I turn up the input, the output goes down. So let me turn the Lavery off and let's kind of replicate it in this plugin real quick, so close as we can get. And I'll let you hear what's happening to this thing as we turn it up. Oh, another pro strat, if you want to get as close as possible to the actual hardware, set the soft hard to 28%. That was the closest I could get the harmonic distribution of this plugin to match against the harmonic distribution of the Lavery. It doesn't get it super close, but it gets it as close as you can with this plugin. I'm not sure what they were trying to emulate here, if they couldn't even get the harmonic, distribution of the saturation and clipping right, but whatever. So I'm going to turn this up and we're going to see what comes out of it. Okay, so now when we compare on to off, we're at the same level. And we can just hear what this clipper is doing to it. So if we're really destroying it with it, we'll hear it real obviously. Wow, and look how little clipping I'm actually doing at this point. Cool. Okay, let's do more. Let's turn it up till we hate it. Okay, now I hate it. Okay. Don't particularly hate that. Let me match it perfectly against the Lavery. So that would be 8.5 and 3 is 11.5. Oh boy. Let me put that number in here. Cool. So this is the same setting I just had it on. And let me turn off the parameter modulation on this real quick, so that we can hear it at the actual level as the Lavery. Here's that. Yeah, and I don't particularly like it, to be quite honest. It doesn't sound that good with the same amount that I was doing here. You hear how much better that sounds? You can't fake everything in a plugin. Here's Ash again. Hear how much it's fucking up the kick drum? But that's okay, because I got a trick for that too. I'm not going to demonstrate it on Ash, because it's too much of a pain in the ass to set up. But I'll show you how to do it in the Lavery real quick. So let's get this, boo-boo piece of shit out of here now. Go back to the real deal. So, as you probably noticed, and I, from what I was saying, we're losing power in the kick. But that's okay, because we can get it back. Here's what we're going to do. I've got an EQ before and after the analog transfer through the Lavery. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting a little bit of bass before we send it out to get clipped. And then when we bring it back in, we're turning that bass back up. I got this trick from Mr. Bill originally, and it is a real winner, because you can just slam just unconscionable fucking amounts into a clipper, and the thing that gets screwed up first doesn't get screwed up as bad. The first thing you lose through a clipper is your kick drum every time. That should be what you listen for. As you turn up the clipper, it'll hit a point where the kick stops sounding better and starts getting wimpier. That's where you bail. That's where you go back and clip a little less and call it a day, at least in, my book. So let's try turning this thing down as we go. Oh, and as I do this, bear in mind there's like a 2-second latency between what I'm doing and what you're hearing due to the very high window length crossovers and correction filters in my monitor controller. It just induces a little bit of system latency, even out into the uncorrected audio that goes to the meters and is going to your stream right now. So just bear in mind what I'm doing will take a second or two to kick in. Let's see. Check out the kick while I do this. Basically, all I'm doing right now is I'm listening to the kick, and I'm listening to where it kind of hits its, where it hits its potential, where it gets as punchy and as forward as it can be. Because if you cut too much and you don't clip it enough, you're not going to get the full effect of the clipping. But if you clip it too hard, you're going to lose punch. There's like a Goldilocks zone with every clipper and every saturator where that kick really hits, its impulse really hits its potential. And I mean, depending on how good your monitoring environment is, it'll be easier or more difficult to ascertain that. But like, that's what I listen for when I master, is like, how punchy is the kick? Because that's the thing you lose and you can't get back in a master. You can make it as loud as you want. You can make it as subby as you want. But the compromise is going to be the punch in the kick every time. And like, you can't finagle your way back around that, because that's like the highest, headroom usage element in the entire song. So once you hit the ceiling for that kick drum, you're done. The kick drum's just going to get worse. So I kind of use that as my guiding force when I master, and kind of optimize around the kick and then make everything else sound as good as I can. And that's been leading me to some pretty nice places lately. So where I've got it right now, like, check it out. If I turn it down anymore, we lose part of the kick energy. And if I turn it up past negative 1.4, we also lose kick energy. So down here, wimpy. Up here, wimpy. So right here, that kicks really forward and aggressive. Good. I'm liking that. And note that I'm encompassing the upper bass range of the kick too. Don't sleep on this range in kick drums, regardless of what you're doing. Like, on a rig that has kick bends, you'll be thanking me. Like, because that's one of the lowest usage ranges in the entire frequency spectrum in bass music. Usually the mid bass starts a little on top of it, or not too aggressively in that range. Like, this range exists for the kick drum in bass music. So make sure that you optimize that range, not just the fundamental range of the kick. Make sure you take care of the first overtone too, because that's where a lot of our perception of like punch and aggression on club rigs comes from, is from that range. So I want to make sure I'm clipping it by the right amount. So I'm going to move this corner frequency of the shelf around and see if it makes the kick a little more aggressive, or if it just loses punch. Nope. nice spot for that. All right, let's get into our upper spectra here. Let me crack open the old standard. This is multiplicity for anybody that isn't familiar with this plugin. It does everything and it's magical, and I'd probably quit mastering if it didn't exist at this point. Any possible dynamic process you can think of, whether it's upward, downward, above band, below band, this thing can do it. It can do compression and expansion above band, and it can do it below band, which is wild, absolutely wild. And you can do all sorts of crazy things with your sidechain EQ, so you can get better specificity on like what particular element you want to tailor in the mix. Like I use this as like a kick and punchinator a lot with like a low shelf that does upward expansion. We're going to get into that. I just want to get a little more potential out of the upper band of the mix first. So I'm going to start with something really crude here. I'm just going to bring up some upper spectra until I don't like it, and then I'm going to figure out why I don't like it, and we'll get more granular from there. So let's go. We got to navigate around these breaks because they're a little too loud. Once you get the tone right, the breaks come up, they get really aggro. So what I'm doing is I'm finding like the highest level that I can put this shelf before the breaks piss me off, and then we're going to refine in from there. Let me have one more listen here. And yeah, I'm only working on this section right now. We're going to move outward from here. Okay, I don't hate that. So let's get a little fancier now. There's one thing I don't like, and it's the position of the like 3K range in the snare, but unfortunately the rest of the mix needs that range to come forward. So we're going to bring the snare up with this, and then I'm going to tuck it back in with an additional band. But on this band, I'm going to drop some upward compression in here. Fast attack, below band upward compression. I'm going to do a fast attack, reasonably fast release time, and let's go. Change of plans. We might have to break out the scalpel, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to just do something different with that break because it's so different than the rest of this section that we're just going to have to treat it apart from the rest of the section. So let's see how happy I am with this chunk here. Let's move this over here. Try that again. A little less upward. Good. And let's mess with this upper mid-range here. Okay, So on this band here, we need more energy in this frequency range. There's not enough going on except for the snare here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a push-pull. I'm going to pull the snare down as I push everything else up. So let's dial in the threshold for this. Again, fast attack, pretty fast release, because it only has to really contour to the snare, and specifically like the transient of the snare. So we can make this a little short. Let's dial the threshold in so it responds to the snare. Good. All right. Now let's take the compression back a little, and let's add some upward compression here. See what that gets us. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, all day. A little less compression, because that snare's doing pretty good. Just like that. Let's move it up a little. Yeah, I'm starting to actually kind of enjoy that a little. Let's do a little less upward on it. It's feeling a little hyped. And the nice thing about upward compression on a dynamic band is like it sounds a little different than boosting this frequency range would with a static EQ, because it's not even working on the transients of the sound in this area. It's only working on the steady state information in this area. Whereas if I just boosted a static band here, I'm turning the snare transient up. But by doing this, I'm turning everything except the snare transient up. And that kind of gives you the ability to move the rest of the mix around the snare in different frequency ranges. Let me get one last listen on this. I'm liking that. So let's chuck those same settings on that bit there, and let's deal with our break here. So I'm going to put, it's really, really bad on CPU. Like, you can get away with a couple instances, but this plugin is a pig. These are really high window length FIR filters. Dave Gamble doesn't screw around when he designs filters, but it is just the most transparent dynamic processor I've ever heard in my life. So with this break here, we're going to get this band out of here. I'm going to turn it into a bandpass filter, and I'm going to put it where the break gets the most aggro here. Let's figure out where that is. One more time. Okay, so it's kind of up there-ish. I'm going to turn the upward compression off because we certainly don't need that. Drop the threshold. Why is this not doing its thing? Am I on the right chunk? Which one is it? Why can't I hold all these multiplicity windows? Yeah, it's this one. Why is it not doing its thing? Because I have the threshold too high. Okay. I actually don't hate it without the boost, but it sounds too different. So I'm going to add some of the boost back in that I had going on this chunk and this chunk. And I'm just going to tuck in this like 4K range as I boost around it, just on this break here. Let's see. Okay, still no love. But I don't hate the sound of it yet, so let me try and get away with a little more. Okay, now I'm starting to hate it a little. Let's do a little bit lower threshold on this compressing band here. See where that takes us. That's kind of nice. I'm not disliking that too much. Let's see. Let's see how it flows into it. Yeah. Weird. Does something change here? Should be the same settings. Feels like this section's quieter than the previous one. Yeah, absolutely that section's lower. Oh, it's visibly lower. Oh yeah, this is way lower. All right, we gotta do a little bit of, let me figure out what part of it's lower. It seems like all of it is lower. Okay, it's because the upper spectra went away. So we just need to goose into it a little more in this chunk. So we can do that. Let's inflate our upper spectra. Here. Yeah, that feels a little better balanced now. Cool. Okay, let's make fucking another instance of multiplicity on this chunk over here. And let's try and get this bass doing its thing a little bit better now. So I'm going to switch over to a low shelf here. And we're going to see how much juice we can get out of this kick drum. I'm going to do very short attack. And I swear to God, the sweet spot for release on this just always seems to be around 100 milliseconds. I have no idea why, but it just seems to work out really consistently. So I like to start there. Let's get this dialed in on the kick. Yeah, we got pretty good specificity there. All right, so now I'm going to do upward expansion with this. And I'm going to turn it up until I hate it. I wish I had a longer chunk to work with here. I think we're getting a bass note in here. So let's kick in the high pass on the side chain. See if we can get a little better specificity on this kick drum by getting rid of some of the sub-range content from the side chain. There she is. There we go. That sounded much better. And I don't think we broke it yet, so let's switch this to extended. See what we can get out of it with a little bit more range of upward expansion. inflating good here. Come on, kick. Try a little lower threshold. Kind of like that. Let's compare with it off. And width. That made the kick jump out a little more. I'm liking that. Basically, we're just forcing more of the impulse through the clipper right now. Let's try a little more. What happens if I juice it? Come on, kick drum. Do your thing. I mean, that's nice. Let's see if it gets a little cleaner if I pull it back. I think I know what our problem is. Let's give the kick a little bit more room to maneuver with our symmetric filters real quick, just so that we can push more of the impulse of the kick through the clipper. I guess we aren't doing a whole lot on this particular kick, but we got it a little better through that. So let's take that instance of multiplicity. Let's chuck it on this other chunk over here, and let's see how this section goes. If we compare it on and off, check out what it does to the kick. Here's off. And here's on. They're 0.85 Q. They don't have an order. It's just a Q factor. So I'm liking my kick in this section anyway. Let's go back here. Now there's no two ways about it. This section just needs to be louder, like overall. Everything up to there. Let's try turning it up a little. Sometimes you'll run into this when people load into like limiters in specific ways and then you have to work on it later. It's like, why are these sections different levels than each other? section too. Fuck it, right? Get you that level. Gonna back off my upward expansion a little because I just turned up the overall level. Breaking up a little. Let's try making the release a little slower. Or faster, rather. The progression now. As you can see, I don't stay in one place when I master. Like, if I have to master one kick drum at a time, I'll fucking do it. Like, it's not good enough to just have settings that sound pretty good through the whole thing. Like, it's got to be perfect in every chunk of the song. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what's good, Wes? Too low. Gotta come up. Now the kick's breaking up. Let's get the kick happy again. I don't know if Sean's in here. I don't think so. Okay, so now it makes sense. This all makes sense now. Everything is at, relatively similar levels to each other between passages, but it does sort of build a nice dynamic arc in that it gets louder as we build towards the break. I like to do that to some degree, just to give a sense of like dynamism to the overall mix. Like, everybody wants the loudest drop possible, but I like when it gets more intense as you go through like a section of the song, especially if it's a scenario here where you've got a lot of masking noise towards the end of it. Like, maybe trade off a little bit of punch in the kick as you get closer to, the breakdown, because you want to build in more loudness, because people have been exposed to this constant level since the last breakdown or since the intro or whatever, right? So you got to overcome fatigue, not only like throughout and just be loud enough to overcome fatigue, but you also need to sectionally build out your dynamics to overcome fatigue within that section itself, if that makes any sense. So now I saved just enough gas in the tank at the beginning of this section to get a little more aggro towards the end of it, and I'm kind of liking that. Let's pivot over to the intro real quick. Make sure nothing that I've done here is making that worse so far. Oh, am I clipping the DAC? That would explain why the kick isn't punchy enough. Good there. cool. I'm hearing the kick break up a little here. Let me give away a little more into the clipper. And it's actually mostly just one of these kicks towards the breakdown here. Let me make sure it's not in the mix. This is the mix. No, it is in the mix. The kick does break up in the mix. That isn't me. My lavery is not to blame here. Cooked into the mix. I feel like it's that kick in particular, but even if I turned that kick down a little bit, it still would distort because it's just built into the mix. Okay, so let's go back here and see what's going on. Pretty good, actually. This is doing okay. Let me bring my threshold up a little, since there isn't a snare happening. See if we can push a little bit more energy into this range that needs it. Let's back it up, see what that does. More, and no compression here. Now let's make this a little broader. Okay, maybe a little less. As you can hear, the kick is breaking up as we get to the end of this passage here. Let's check that out again. Nope, I was tripping, we're good. And another thing I pay attention to after I've got the clipper and limiter going is how loud are the breakdowns versus the main passages. Like, people don't spend enough time thinking about that. It isn't always a linear exchange once you load a mix with a limiter. It has a tendency to push the breakdowns louder than the main passages. But it sounds like Ben mixed this into a limiter, so we don't have any too bad imbalances going on here. Oh, I just can't get past it. This is, like, quieter. You know what? Maybe it's tonal. Maybe it's tonal. Let's bring up a little more upper mid-range in this section and see if that turns the lights on. I just want to get these sounding, you know, close enough to each other. Now, it's here. It's here. What do I want to do about it? Still quieter. Come on. Oh yeah, it's this whole range. There she goes. Oh, I know what it is. Your fucking snare got quieter in here for some reason. can I dig that out if I'm really clever? Yeah, probably. Let's see. Let's get this set so that it's responding to this thing and not the snare. Oh shit, let me get a ratio going. Yeah, it's sort of almost working. Part of it is the sub-range needs to come up here too. I swear this whole section's just quiet. Okay, fine, god damn it. I'll do parallel compression. So we're gonna put some parallel compression on just this chunk here, and just specifically the upper mid-range and up, because I just want to push the floor forward on here. And none of the tricks I've been throwing at it are really doing a great job. Let's see what this does for us. Let's back it off. This is a very powerful tool. This is Dyne 1 by Leapwing, by the way. It is a multiband parallel compressor with very nice crossover filters built into it. This is an emulation of a preset that my buddy Bob Katz did for the TC Electronic System 6000. For the multiband engine for it. It was a 4-band engine on the TC, but he had this incredible preset he made that does multiband parallel compression. And one of his other assistants over the years, Robin Rumors, went on to develop this plugin company, and this is one of the plugins he came up with. And it's basically just an emulation of Bob's settings. But we're just... Basically, what we're doing with parallel compression is we're pushing the bottom of the sound stage towards the front, okay? So because I've done that, I probably don't need to boost as much here as I have been, because it's getting a little aggro from that. Let's try swapping it out a little. This section to be anticlimactic. This vocal up. Let's get this vocal up a little more. This is more of a feature than I think it was meant to be. Let's see. Here. So let's make this chunk end here and pull up this guy and take this back out. Okay. mostly happy with this side of it now. I'm still not quite sold on these kicks. Like, let me listen to the mix one more time. I swear I'm distorting them worse than they are in the mix. No, it is indeed saturating there. Back to the master. I'm gonna live with it for now. We'll revisit this. So let's see how this transitions into the breakdown and if we've made that breakdown way too loud now. Seems reasonable. He got the macro dynamics right in the intro. There's no reason it shouldn't be right for this section. And to answer your question, the thing with EQ is like, static EQ sounds really obvious to me now. It just immediately sounds like somebody EQ'd the thing. I think when you modify tone, you also have to modify dynamics if you want it to be transparent. Because when you move that transient around, the ear can hear it. But if you keep the transient in the same place and move around it, you can make huge moves before it sounds EQ. Cool. I think we're doing okay here. Let's see if I can make this kick sound any nicer in here. Let's just split this up. Yeah, sure. Let's see. Oh yeah, we are goosing this thing. Because it's hitting the bass and the kick. Turning up. Okay. Oh, shit. Right. Man, that's a weird kick, but whatever. Okay. Let's listen to the mix. Oh yeah, we're distorting the shit out of this. Okay, so let's bring this section down a little, because I think we could afford to, and maybe it'll get us out of trouble here. Let's see how it goes into it. Okay. Alright. I'm getting content with this. Still more to do. Let me hit the ceremonial vape real quick. All right. So let's skip around a little and see what the dynamics are doing throughout. This section's wimpy. It needs more hook stuff. With more super highs in this section. Let me try that. To do that is just let off on the compression on this band, which is, you know, predominantly the snare impulse right here. So I can kind of like control the mix balance of the snare against everything else in this frequency range using this guy. Pressing the hats up here. What the fuck am I doing? Jesus. Oh, there it is. Jesus, was I doing that in the other sections? Oh, Matt, you dumbass. No wonder I'm juicing the highs so much. We were compressing the high band. Let's try that again. Should be way too bright now. Nope. Still doing that power. Go back here. Snare jumps forward too much. Pull that back a little. And it tracks that it would because we're pushing the upper mid-range forward. That's tasteful. Let's get back into this one. Yeah, we had too much of a tonal shift here. Let's get that matching again. snare here either, because it's a little subdued. Too much. There she goes. Okay. Agreed. Let's jump over here. Let's listen to the mix. Really brought a hell of a lot of music out of this section. Oh, thanks, bud. Yeah, I just got it. Oh, too quiet. What the hell? Or compare to here. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's pull out the same tricks. I think we got to throw our parallel compression trick on this one. So let's get that in the equation, see what that brings to us. Oh yeah. More like it. I think I could afford to pull this one down. Nope, not that one. This one. I can come back down now. Go back again. Let's take a little bit off here because we turned this whole section up. A little less upward expansion on the kick. There she is. Turning this up a little. What's missing here? We need just a bit of this. This range is feeling a little empty in here. Wrong one. Let's put it on the right one. I think that snare could come forward, so let's do less compression. Too much. I think we might have to do a little upward expansion and upward compression on this band. That's fucked up. Begs the question, why don't we just turn it up and turn down the upward expansion on it? That's what a smart person would do. Oh my god, the snare. Come on, dude. might have to chop that section out.
Yeah.
Okay, put our upward compression back in. Let's sort this break out here towards the end. Where is it? This whole chunk here, this little bit. Right there. Let's pull some things down on this bit because it gets a little aggro in here. Let's see what this does for us. Okay, now the snare's too far forward. So let's pull our upward expansion back. Bro, what the fuck happens in here? Like, it gets quieter in here. Are you doing this to test me, Ben? Because this is a good test, if so. Yeah, I swear to God, it's quieter here, like specifically. The fuck? Let's try this again. A little more. Do a little bit less, or maybe a little more upward expansion on the snare, just in this little chunk here, which would be this one. See what this does for us. Doing in here. Let's mute this one, make sure I'm only working on the part I want here. Let's see. Yeah, the kick goes to shit in here too, for some odd reason. Let's see if I can impunctionate it a little. Fuck. It's a little better. Oh, let me unmute this. There we go. Let me unmute this. Let me unmute everything. There we go. There we go. That's flowing a lot better now. But this little chunk kind of does the same thing here as this one. Right up to that kick there. So let's punch up the kick a little more in this. See if that helps us out. One more time. Cut this bit out like so. Talk about surgery, hey? Oh yeah. Yeah, the kick just isn't hitting it. Again. Oh, pull something up in there at least. It's weird. Kick just gets subdued there. I guess it's, you know, artistic intent, but Okay, let's turn this a little bit up some, get a little more juice out of it. There we go. Let's put our vocal boost back in. Here. I want to get more out of this section. Let's see if we can get a little more out of this section. I'm going to turn the whole thing up, see what that does. That again. More. Do a little more. Aggro here. There it is. Now it's in the pocket. Let's pocket this one a little better too. Let's try this. Bugging me because I swear it's me that's distorting here, so let's find the beginning of this. And let's just turn our upward expansion on the kick down a little in this section so it doesn't distort as bad. When you get like multiple kick drums going through a clipper in like really quick succession, it makes it hit it makes it go above full scale for more consecutive samples in a row, basically. And the name of the game with clipping is to not be clipping by too many consecutive samples by anything. If you clip too many samples in a row, you hear it as distortion. But as long as, you aren't consistently hitting it super hard, like in quick succession, the distortion's pretty well masked by the rest of the program. Let's see if turning this up or down helps. Yeah, it does. With the exception of this guy right here. This guy is a real bee in my bonnet right now. So I'm just going to turn that bit down. Actually, not even. Let's do that bit down. Just a little. Just by like a quarter dB. Just to hopefully get it a little less distorted sounding. Let's see. Yeah, it's better. And the thing to bear in mind when you're screwing around with like the levels of little pieces of this mix is like, you're not really adjusting level here. What you're adjusting is how much dynamic range change you're inducing on it. Because it's going to hit full scale regardless, because we're hitting it so hard with the clipper and limiter. Yeah, I can send a cut of this. So like, don't be afraid to like turn down like one individual kick drum or like one little passage, and don't be afraid to turn up one little passage, because like the listener isn't going to hear it as a level change. They're going to hear it as a dynamic change, and they don't have a frame of reference for dynamic. So like, you can kind of do whatever the hell you want, and it's more or less transparent despite that. So let's see if we can get away with making this thing a little wider. I'm going to pull out the usual suspects for this. Let's get stage 1, and let's get, let's get Imager 11. So I like these two. Usually one of these or a bit of both makes me happy on a given mix. When I use Ozone Imager, I always switch it into transient and sustain mode, and then I leave the transients alone and I just widen the sustain of the notes, because that way you can make your mid-range good and wide, but you don't fuck up your snare transients in doing so, because that's, a pretty nasty compromise to make. So let's see what we can do here. This is something that Imager 11 does that I don't understand. I turn it on, kick gets wimpier, bass gets wimpier. Turn it off, kick gets fuller, bass gets fuller. You can't explain that. It's just some dumb shit that Imager does. Now, let's switch over to stage 1. Neither one of these are perfect options per se. This one fucks up the transients because it doesn't have the ability to separate them and process them differently. This one screws up your bass range. So you got to figure out like what matters more to you. I think on this one I'm going to split the difference maybe. Do like a little bit of this and maybe a little bit of this and see what the compromise is like versus having this off. Does this guy think he is right here? Who the hell do you think you are being that loud? I know exactly what that is. That's bus compression letting off, and it just makes the kick level explode. But that guy doesn't need to be that damn loud. This will sound exactly the same. See, did you notice the difference? I did. But now it doesn't distort as much. It would appear we have a gain staging issue in this section. So I'm going to turn my send to the analog chain down a little until this stops clipping. Oh shit. Clipping by a lot. Really? It's got to be the kick drum. Well, that's no good. I don't want to clip the kick into the DAC. Let's see if I'm right. Oh yeah, it's the kick. Oh, come on. I'll do something stupid. Okay. What do I need to do here? This is a weird situation. All right, you got me stuck for a second. You stumped me on this one. I gotta figure this shit out real quick. How the hell do I get that thing to not go that aggro but make the kick that loud specifically in that section? Oh, I know. We turn the whole fucking thing down and hit it harder into my transfer console. That's always the answer. Let's turn this down by like 3 dB here and see if it's still pissed off. Why am I muted? Cool. And here. Still. God damn it. Ugh. turn it down 4 dB. You never want to clip on the way out of the box. You want to clip coming back into the box. Making me give all my punch away and shit. Wait, what level is it coming in over here? Oh no, we're Gucci. Oh, okay, we're totally fine. We were 100% fine. Let me turn this back up because I liked it a lot better up here. Let's do 8-ish. Oh yeah. As long as this guy isn't clipping, it does not matter what that meter says. Okay. So I turned it down by 4 dB. Let's turn this up. 2 dB. And then let's see if we can get away with it. Where does this clip? Well, I'm out of fucking headroom on my transfer console. I've got this guy as juiced as I can get it. So I guess I have to concede a little punch in my kick here. Oh well. Good. Punch out of this section as well, just so it better matches. Compare that to here. No idea why I started that instead of here, but let's fix that real quick. Good. Agreed. Good. Yo, what the fuck? Oh, right. That guy. Okay. One more go, and I think we can sell this. Just a little bit more punch out of this if I can get away with it. Oh, I totally can. Nowhere close. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, there we go. I'll let you know though, you can clip your DAC a little as a treat. It's okay sometimes. We've all done it. It isn't the worst thing that ever happens. Sometimes it sounds pretty good. Who knows? You know? You can't hard clip like you can with a DAC. This snare pisses me off. This guy does not need to be quite that loud. Let's turn him down by like half a dB. I check our intro out. Make sure we like that. And then I think we might be done here. Assuming nothing untoward happens here. Oh no, I like that. Well, y'all, I think we got a master here. Here's your mix. Bigger, fuller, punchier, no better. Anybody got questions for me? I think this one's cooked. I'm gonna hit the vape real quick. Hit me with questions. Sorry I did everything with multiplicity. I didn't mean to. It just kind of keeps happening that way for some reason. It's a really powerful plugin. No questions? I did that good? Everybody left hours ago. I took too long. Yeah, actually, one of my assistant engineers really likes standard clip at 25%. He favors it over Ash. I kind of like Ash, as long as you do the symmetric, filters before and after, because that way you can push a lot more bass into it before you lose your punch and before it just starts sounding shitty. Well, I don't know. Was the loudness target super high? Ben, where am I in relation to your standard? I haven't listened to one of your masters in a little while. Did I hit the mark? Did I surpass the mark? Am I under the mark? Do I need to make it louder for you? You're the client here in this hypothetical situation, so you let me know. I don't know. I don't think about it in terms of -5. Okay. Well, that explains why those sections were different levels than each other. But hell, if you want louder, I can give you louder. It's just going to cost you some kick in doing so. You can always trade that off for louder. I just don't like having to do that. I like making it as loud as I can while it still feels like the kick is super punchy. I don't like giving that up in anything I'm doing at this point. I'd rather keep it punchy. And most of my clients are happy with how loud it comes out. I can't recall the last time I had somebody say it wasn't loud enough. If anything, sometimes they have me turn it down a little, which I love to do, at any opportunity. I'm not a loud guy per se. I just kind of know what the expectations of this song are based on, the way it's arranged and the way it's composed and sound designed. You don't put that much noise-based sound design on something if you don't intend it to go loud, because that's kind of a big reason to do noise-based sound design, is so that it can hide all of that distortion that you're incurring with the clipper and the limiter. I've got my direct level down by 5.5 dB. Let me play how loud this actually is at full level, so you can see, you can hear how loud it is in relation to whatever else. Here's it at full scale. And we're going on between like -8 and like -6-ish in this. I didn't take it the whole way down to 5 at any point. I never really see the reason to, and I never really see much merit in doing it. Yeah, it's fucking loud, right? That's -8, dude. Loud is a lot more than numbers. Numbers are fucking stupid and don't mean anything. Like, LUFS is a terrible metric for perceptual loudness. Like, the only metric you can use that you can really trust is your ears with loudness. And the way you do it is you just pick a level that, like, all the stuff that, you know, you listen to and it's loud enough, put that at an appropriate level, and then just don't touch your monitor controller. Just leave it at that level and work up towards whatever your loudness goal is that gets into the ballpark of the thing you listen to. That's the only real loudness metric there is this thing fucking loud enough? The numbers will tell you all sorts of nonsense, and especially in bass music, which is so driven by the subrange, the K-weighting filter for LUFS rolls off at like 100 hertz. So it doesn't even incorporate that into the conversation of loudness. Like, it isn't, like, everybody's so numbers obsessed, and like, it isn't a thing. It's not a thing. I can show you a -5 that's quiet as shit, and I can show you a -8 that sounds 4 dB louder than it, 5 dB louder than it, because it just doesn't very well describe the way we perceive loudness at all. And no, there isn't like a minimum LUFS. Like, I don't like going below like -7 integrated. Like, I can't think of any good reason to go that low, because you can get it loud before then. Like, if you're hitting like -5, to me that speaks to a tonal imbalance that needs rectified. Like, Ben's mix, it needed more upper spectra. It needed more upper mid-range and highs. And if we hadn't added that in there, yeah, I'd probably have it at -5, and I'd probably be pretty disappointed in it. The thing that gives us perceptual level, our hearing is split up into 21 filter banks that are called critical bands. And basically you can think of it like the same way that perceptual coders work, where it divides up the total bandwidth into buckets that represent small frequency ranges, right? The way our brain attributes loudness is based entirely around how full all of those critical bands are. If every critical band is hitting your threshold, it's as loud as it can be. My only LUFS meter's on the desk. I don't... yeah, I could throw span on. Here, that way you get a meter too for what that's worth. Here's what we're looking at here. There is a LUFS meter here, right? Oh, god damn it. No LUFS meter. Well, we got RMS, but that isn't going to get you too far. Let me see if I got a LUFS meter around here somewhere. Maybe, oh, I know what I can do. I can put another limitless instance in and just have it do nothing. Because I think that has, yeah, there's a LUFS meter built into here. Here you go. There's your LUFS meter. Oh, shit. Look at that. Ain't that loud. It doesn't have to be. It's all built around how loud is the sustain and how loud are the transients. If your master isn't aggressive enough and you're at like, you know, a very low dynamic range, try forcing some more snare transients into it. Try forcing more like of the feature of the song. Like in this section, it's this thing going on in here. Like I pushed this forward until it made the mix feel forward. Now, I'm doing something a little weird here, frequency-wise. I actually have this kind of 1K to 3K range a little subdued, which I almost never do. The reason I'm doing it here is because I'm saving room for the stabby synths that need to like cut through it in the mix and be really forward and really transient intensive. So I need to leave a little bit of room for those transients to properly articulate and for it to be in the correct point in the sound stage. Because if you squished that frequency range on that synth, yeah, you could have it like flat the whole way across on the frequency contour, but the compromise would be now the transients aren't as far forward on that synth as they need to be, you know? Oh, shit. There. Okay, now can you see the LUFS meter? My bad. Actually, pretty goddamn dynamic. And like over here. What do you think of that? -8. That's a pretty loud -8, hey? Here. Okay, we got a little fuzz here. But as you can see, the LUFS meter has quite a bit of delta throughout this, even though all these sections are reasonably well leveled against each other. You can't trust this thing. This thing is not your friend. The only thing I use a LUFS meter for is to see if I'm squishing it too much and it isn't loud enough. The only thing I use this for is to ask myself, okay, is this loud enough to be -8 or does it need to be louder? And then I figure out a way to do that by moving the transients around, by shuffling the tone of the mix around, just by filling as many of those critical bands, having enough steady state information being forced into all of them across the bandwidth so that we're perceiving it as loud. It's actually got very little to do with dynamics at all, which is a funny little misconception that most of the industry has been laboring under. But, you know, what's the dB level in your studio you're usually monitoring? Shit, I don't know. Let me get the meter. Let's see. See, now I need an SPL meter. Oh, here it is. Let's have a look-see. Where are we at? We are at... about 90. And that brings me to another point. I know a lot of guys that like mix and master quiet. I mean, you got to work around the limitations of your sound system. Because if you're on a pair of like active two-way speakers, odds are they're underpowered. And when you do turn it up, you're going to get into power compression from the amps, and also just driver compression and thermal compression on the drivers. So like you can only turn your speakers up so much before they start compressing the signal, and then what you're hearing isn't linear with what's coming off your hard drive. But on the other hand, you need to know what your snare is going to do at level, because the biggest flaw I hear master after master is people just make the transients of their snares too goddamn loud. I don't know why they do it. It never sounds good in the club. It always just like pokes your eardrum and it's super annoying. And like, it doesn't have to sound like that for the snare to be good and forward and loud. Pay attention to the transients specifically of your snares. And like, that's why I monitor a little louder. I just happened to get this one super loud, but, you know, our shit is built for systems. It's built for the club, you know? So, like, you need to take on some of that perspective. Obviously, don't have your monitors going at 115 dB C, but, like, you know, split the difference to some degree, because when the level comes up, your Fletcher-Munson contours are going to shift, and now your snare is going to be too far forward. And I hear it again and again and again. And, like, it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to do it like that. I've heard plenty of good masters where the snares don't poke and they're plenty aggressive. And I got to hand it to Ben. He did a pretty good job on handling the transients of the snares throughout this. Yes, I did a little bit of adjustment as I went, but they were pretty well in hand. I've had to do way worse in the past. So, like, pay attention to the transients of your snares. Not every sound system is going to express them as well as mine does. That's one of the things I really like about my PMCs, is not only can I take them up to club level if I feel like it, just to check out what it's like up there, and I still have headroom on these speakers. It's no problem. They don't break a sweat, you know? You don't have that situation, but, like, try it out at louder levels just to make sure that that snare isn't creeping up too much in level as you do that. Because you aren't going to get as much power compression on the tweeter as you will on the low driver. And on a two-way, the business end of that snare is going to be coming out of the tweeter. So, like, try it a little louder. Check that out before you commit on a master, because that may change the story quite a bit in the conversation of bass music, you know? Oh, with the Lurar trick, I use it from time to time. The thing is, like, at this point, I'm not that cynical that I want to make the streaming level louder by any means necessary. Having to change the macro dynamics of your... What's good, Shane? Having to change the macro dynamics of different sections of your song in order to cheat a little bit more streaming loudness. Like, I'll do it if it's close to where I'm at, but if it's nowhere close, I'm not going to fuck up my master just to make it a little louder on streaming. The trick that our friend is talking about here is this lovely plugin that my friend made called Lurar. And what it does, well, let me give you a little backstory first. With Luff's measurement, the way that it works, it has a blacking function where if the dynamic goes below a certain level, it stops measuring it. So, like, if you can get your level as close to where it stops measuring it, but not past it, it'll average those lower level sections, like breakdowns, into the measurement. And because you're averaging lower level sections of the music into the overall LUFS measurement, the integrated, it makes your overall LUFS level a little lower, even though it's louder than it is. It's a nice, cheap little trick you can pull. Let's see, do I have this split up? Yeah, so, like, let's take this section, for instance, here. This thing will illuminate when it's below the threshold for measurement here. So, like, so we're below the threshold. Now we're above it. Okay, so I know that this section is being averaged in. Everything other than this little bit in here. So if I was, like, super cynical and I just wanted to make, like, the loudest master for streaming possible, I would do, I would do something like this. And I would bring this up so that more of this little chunk is being averaged in. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, see, we aren't gating. Now we are. Okay, so doesn't help us at all because it's just way too low. Like, there's some stuff that's just not worth going for it. Not to make it, you know, a little louder than the next guy on streaming. But if you are cynical, oh shit. Did I just close Reaper? What did I just do? Am I an idiot? Did Reaper just crash? Wow, Reaper just crashed. Incredibly rare Reaper crash sighting. That's cool. But hey, on that note, my projector's overheating. And, yep, Shane knows what that beep means. My projector runs in a silent box that I designed to keep the ambient noise floor in here around 25 dBA. But I have to let it cool down occasionally so I don't burn out the bulb. Well, the laser, as it were. But I guess I'm going to get out of here on that note. I hope you guys learned something. Hope you had some fun. My name's Matt. My studio is Hacienda. Hit me/us up. If you're in the market for an additional education service in your life, I do a weekly on synthesis, doing shit like this basically every week. Yeah, that's all I got for y'all.